Yeah, thank you for joining us. Today we're going to be chatting to Julia De Klerk. Did I get her name right?
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Who makes laser cut jewellery, similar to us actually. There's quite a few similarities with what we do, but she works with plastic.
Yeah, she mainly works with acrylic, doesn't she? And it has a kind of either tropical look, or some of the shapes are quite abstract. It's really fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fun and colourful.
Yeah, so if you haven't already checked out her Instagram page or website, you should definitely do that. Some really cool stuff on there. And I think compared to some of the other talks we've done, this one we're probably most similar in the sense our businesses are quite similar. We work with the same kind of process, and it'd be interesting to see how her process not differs to ours, but how she's done it in her own kind of style.
Yeah, it's very distinctive, isn't it? I think she's got quite a strong style, and a lot of followers who really are into that, I think.
Yeah, it's very fun, very playful.
Yeah,
it'd be nice to hear her talk about it.
Yeah, definitely.
So she should be joining us very shortly. So we're just kind of waiting for. She's trying to connect via her Mac, so we'll see if that works.
Yeah, I don't think you can actually connect via Mac, can you?
It hasn't worked for us, but you never know. She might be a technical whiz and might be able to work it all out.
Yeah.
There we go.
We're just adding her in now.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, Julia. Hiya. Yeah, I downloaded something that said it would work, and it didn't. So I've done
We thought you might be a technical whiz on this.
I thought it would work, but it didn't work. I was looking at other live videos.
They just want to lock their systems down so that you can only do it their way.
Yeah, how are you doing anyway?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're really well, thank you.
Hot.
Yeah, it is really. Yeah,
we're sweating a bit. Yeah, it's a bit clammy today. So today we're joined by Julia De Klerk, and she's a jewellery maker and designer. So maybe for those people who don't know who you are, Julia, can you just give them a brief introduction about who you are and what you do?
So I'm a jewellery designer. I work with acrylic and sterling silver. I've been full-time on it for about a year now. I've made jewellery for about 10 years. And this current stuff is inspired by abstract illustrations. All of the floral stuff is based on sort of retro florals from the 70s and 60s, like caravan, florals.
Oh wow!
That. And also, I think they're the main influences, really.
Yeah, it's really fun what you do. We love it. It's really quirky, and I think a lot of people really get into what you do. It's got quite a distinctive style. I mean, even your packaging's really fun to go with the jewellery.
Yeah.
It looks brilliant.
Well, yeah, I think with the packaging, it was I wanted it to be as nice as the jewellery, really. Yeah. Because it's you spend quite a lot of time with the packaging, making it.
You do.
Putting it together. And yeah, it was kind of the vibe. Initially, I wanted it to be a bit more multicoloured as well, sort of, I don't know, matchboxes or something like that. But it could do it black and white. And it's kind of been really good for the business too, because people like the packaging as much as jewellery. So
yeah, it's really distinctive, and I think having it monochrome as well really makes your jewellery pieces stand out, because they're really colourful.
Yeah,
got quite a graphic look to it as well.
Yeah, it's definitely worked with the abstract stuff. I might change the floral one.
Interesting.
Just because
exclusive.
It's just I think when you look at things for too long, but with the abstract stuff, it totally makes sense to me. But I don't 100% think with the floral stuff. I mean, it does work because it's colourful, but it's kind of the vibe that I'm trying to give of that is that it's quite retro.
Yeah.
And I think some people get it, but then I don't think I've taken good enough photos to sort of represent what it's and who it's supposed to be for. If you
I understand.
So, I don't know. I might be a bit more trippy with that if I have time. But
it sounds fun.
So if we rewind a bit, did you always want to be a jewellery designer?
I don't think I always wanted to be a jewellery designer. I always wanted to do something creative. Like I've done sort of, my parents are both from a creative background, so
Oh wow.
I've
What did they
always,
do?
so they uh, they met at art school. They went to Farnham.
Oh, I went to Farnham as well.
Yeah, so this is like a long time ago, but
Yeah.
we won't talk about the ages. But yeah, so they met at art school, and then eventually, like on their journey, they for about 8 years they lived in France, and they made wooden toys and sold them at fairs, and that was their main sort of income. And I've got an older sister who's 4 years older than me. They carried it on whilst they had Ellie, and then when I was born it got a bit too much, and so they eventually moved back to the UK, and I was like 1.5. So it's kind of like bred into me. Like they've done a lot of markets, and like I've had this sort of creative people around me. And then Mum became an art teacher, and because she had these long holidays of sort of 6 weeks in every half term, and Dad was like working, and like we did loads of art and craft stuff because she's can make everything, and so we did sewing and ceramics and whatever. And yeah,
that's the dream.
Oh, cool. So super creative.
Yeah, it's kind of like we've done it since we were quite young, like used the sewing machine from 8, and like it was just what we did. And so I think it was always, I remember like when they asked you at school, what do you want to be? I was like, I want to be an artist, or like I want to be a graphic designer and travel, or whatever it was. But yeah,
so there was never a point where you were like, oh, actually I really feel like doing kind of law or something.
No,
because sometimes like when you're surrounded by something and you're rebellious, you almost feel like, oh, maybe I should do something else.
No, I just really enjoyed it, and it was just satisfying. I'm not like, I was always good at English because it was creative and at school, and that type of subject. Absolutely terrible at maths. Absolutely, still really terrible at maths.
That's obviously quite a big part of running a business now, isn't it?
It's just I can't believe how bad I am. Like it's just But I think I've got lazy because my partner's really good at maths, so I don't even add up. I'm like, Rowan, what's this?
You could just do that.
Come on, like sort of thing. But so I've always kind of wanted to do something, and sort of travelled in that way. And at uni, at college, I did an AVCE, which is like a sort of combined AS level, which was art and design. So it's full on 2 years of just loads of different things. And
that sounds really fun.
Yeah, it was a really good, I don't know if they still do them, but it was a really good course because we learned so much, and we had a really amazing tutor. And actually Rowan's dad was one of my tutors.
Right.
But like we haven't been together for that long, but it's just like coincidence we then got back into it. So obviously I've got creative on his side as well, and then did art foundation, and then applied to do design at Goldsmiths, and that's what I applied for.
You need to go to.
Yeah, it was quite intense because I think when I was at college, they always talked about Goldsmiths because we learnt about the young British artists, and so it was it was it was quite a big. I remember going to the interview and like just being intensely nervous and but I applied for Ravensbourne to do furniture design, and because I didn't know if I'd get into any of them, and then I applied for Camberwell at the same time, and they were doing ceramics and like a jewellery course, and I had that interview first, and I got into Camberwell.
Oh wow.
And then I said to my mum, I want to try for Goldsmiths because it was sort of and she was just really annoyed with me because obviously Camberwell's is an amazing and then it was they had really nice studio equipment, and I love materials, so it just they had big laser cutters and ceramics rooms and stuff, and I was like, I've got to try, and got into there. So
you picked product design, Ravensbourne, ceramics, Camberwell, and then jewellery. So you were kind of potentially going to go 3 different directions.
Yeah. I think even when I finished uni, I didn't really know what I wanted to do because Goldsmiths was, the design course is very conceptual, and you get to select what you go into at the end of the 3 years. And I did furniture. I made some weird products based on parasites.
Nice.
It's quite an intense college in terms of there's some very intelligent people there, and your tutors are very intelligent as well. So I don't know. I did enjoy it, but because I'm more of a crafts person, I kind of struggled with it in that vein, because I think some people are they just think in an amazing way, and they're more interested in like concepts behind things, whereas I like materials, and I'm really interested in people that make things really well, and that's what sort of, but that doesn't matter to them, because it's more about how you design things and what design is and discussing it. And I don't think I necessarily was mature enough at that time to really fully even understand
well, I mean, and you'd had a really creative upbringing as well, so it must be really tricky for some people. So do you feel like, would you have changed that now that you know? Would you have gone somewhere? Would you have picked one of the other options?
I'm glad I did, because I think if I'd gone straight to Camberwell, I would have gone, it may have been more of a straight route, and I probably would have specialised sooner and learnt something inside and out. But I'm glad I went there, because I met some amazing people, and it was such an experience to sort of be there, and like it's quite well connected, and the tutors are really some of them have done quite incredible things, or and sort of groundbreaking stuff, and the design course is so much more different to a lot of the other ones in the rest of the UK, because they are so it is so much about thinking and theory and stuff like that. So I don't regret it, but I think that I found it difficult at times, because I was just like, I just want to make pretty things though. And they're like, well, you can't, that's not what you're here for.
Exactly. It doesn't even matter. I know what you mean. It's like on our course at Kingston, the graphic design course was very much like all about ideas. They did not care about how it was made. It was all, as you say, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It's an ideas course.
Because like my group of friends, we're all friends with each other because we liked to make things well. So we used to just be like frustrated at times, but
And were you living in London at the time?
So I lived in New Cross for the whole of uni, and then 2 years after, like Brockley and New Cross. And then the recession hit when I graduated in 2008, and I stuck around for 2 years, but I wasn't very happy really, because it was sort of, everyone was trying to get jobs, and there was limited jobs, and everyone sort of dispersed around the city, or moved home, or did whatever. And I did a few bits, like through friends. I'd like pick up work and do sort of shows with them, or projects, because they had started working for design firms and things like that. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So when I was looking for work, I didn't even know what I was looking for. I suppose I could do that.
There's so many creative jobs. It's a bit bewildering, isn't it, when you're fresh out of uni? There's not much guidance really for what you could do. You can kind of do everything and nothing, it feels like.
So it's like, and also because I hadn't specialised, I think often when the jobs I was going for, there was somebody who'd done ceramics for 3 years, and they knew it inside and out, and I was just sort of dabbling at it and would sort of thing. But so I was working in Dorothy Perkins in Bond Street, and then I just thought, I need to go home. I'm so cross, because I'd get the tube every day, and like it was just rammed, and the job I was doing wasn't really what I wanted to do. And I just thought I'd rather be like not really a big fish, but like a big fish in a small pond. Like there's
Yeah.
probably more like scope outside, and also like to go home and see my family and stuff. My sister had my first nephew, and yeah, I just kind of got a bit vibed out really. Just decided.
Yeah, wasn't your time in London.
No. Yeah.
And do you think kind of like moving home gave you that kind of space and inspiration to start your own company? Because I guess in some ways you were quite young to have done that.
Yeah, I think so, because it was hard to find a creative job back there, like back home, because obviously there's less creative jobs. So it was like, I got a job at uni, and I was a PA for the international. Somehow ended up being a PA for the international director of the university. And I remember just sitting on my computer one day and being like, "What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Like, this is not what I want to do." And I think I was having a bit like quite a low point in my life, because obviously you build up to go to uni and then it didn't work out how I wanted it to, and I felt a bit like a failure, and that, you know, I hadn't succeeded or whatever. And my mum suggested to me, because sort of through all of that I had lived out of home for a bit, and then I moved back with my parents because they were kind enough to let me move back in with them. And my mum suggested that I do a short course at St Martin's, because she just thought, because I'd sort of briefly said about jewellery, I think a lot of the designs I was doing tended to be jewellery, so and I really wanted to learn silversmithing. So she said, you know, try it and see what you think, to kind of get out of a rut as well. And then I did go, and it was a really lovely tutor, Anastasia Young, who's written quite a few jewellery technique books and stuff, and she was amazing. She just taught us, I think I did 2, and it was 2 weeks, and she just did everything with us. She did perspex, she did resin, she did silversmithing, and afterwards I was so inspired, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna try and like make some silver jewellery. And like we cut a hole in a table, and that was my like jewellery bench, and like I bought a gas thing, and yeah, and I started off doing silver, and then yeah, I was just like, right, I'm going to work part-time now, like get a job as a waitress, do that. And yeah, and I just did it on the side with the plan that eventually it would move over to being full-time, and that was in 2012.
It's amazing that you managed to cram that so much in that 2 weeks, that they taught you all of those techniques.
Yeah. No.
It's almost like sometimes things like that, you almost get taught more than you did at like uni, which was 3 years.
No, it's crazy. It was such a good course. It was really good. And yeah, and it was just, you know, I think that's what you want sometimes, don't you? You just like to learn all of these materials all at one time. Yeah. So it was like, yeah, this is really interesting. And so I started off with silver, and I started doing markets because they did a few in Portsmouth. And I did then a few like commissions came in, and I would do like name necklaces made out of silver, and I was doing like necklaces that were triangles and eyes and all sorts, and rings and stuff. But then I ended up doing so many commissions that I wasn't really doing anything that I wanted to do. Yeah. And then also the cost of silver was so expensive for somebody who was working part-time. It just didn't really work out. And so I was like, tried resin, and I started doing like reproduction Bakelite stuff. Because I've always been obsessed with Bakelite jewellery, and it's quite collectible. There's sort of, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it was sort of 30s, 40s, 50s. They do sort of lockets and keys and a lot of rockabilly sort of style stuff, and it tends to be in red and black, and they do patterns, and it like, I think
that's it's on your Instagram if you scroll right down, isn't it?
Yeah. So I started to do reproduction of that because I was like, well, I'd learned how to do resin, so I wanted to try casting, and like with Bakelite jewellery, if you Google it, the designs are crazy. They're awesome. They have like fruit and corn and like everything. It was really kitsch. So I was really obsessed with that for a while. And so that's how I sort of it continued into that. And then it was just red and black, and I can't remember why I decided that, but I think it was like, I really
like rockabilly colours, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. And a lot of the Bakelite was red or black, and it was kind of two parts of my personality, and it was easy to express it in that way, because like with the black stuff, then it could be like, I could have sort of music influences in it, but with the red stuff I could be a bit more wild and sort of arty and stuff. And then I just got sick of red and black.
Just had enough.
Fair enough.
For so long. But also it coincided, Rowan and I did a working holiday visa in Canada for 2 years.
Oh wow, that sounds
and so it gave me a bit of a break on sort of working out what I wanted to do, really. And I think by that point I'd kind of got tired of just doing red and black, and I was like, think of all the multicoloured stuff I could do.
there's a world of colour.
Yeah, and also I think it was because that was it. So with the plastic, like how it started off with the perspex, is I was cutting it all by hand and polishing it all by hand and painting it, and then I would have it at the price of what someone would expect a piece of perspex to be. So like the earrings, which I was cutting by hand and doing all the stuff, and then I'd sell them for 18 quid. And so the profit was just terrible.
Oh,
all your time.
So how much time did you put into those then? Like one set? Hours?
I mean, I got quite quick, but still, like cutting it, then filing it, then polishing it on a polishing wheel, then like filing in the bits, then painting on the things, then putting it together. And it was crazy. So I started to laser cut it and then just file the edges. And it was nice because like perspex is supposed to be sort of polished, and you know, it's quite a nice material to use. But it didn't work as a business at all. It was just crazy.
Not sustainable.
It was good because I started on Etsy, and so I started to learn how to pack parcels and communicate with people, and
I see that you've got a hell of a lot of sales on Etsy, like 1,100 and something.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
Did it kick off straight away, or was there kind of a nervous period where you're just kind of waiting?
I think I did wait for a bit, probably like 6 months or so, maybe. I mean, I think I did have some sales, but I think I told people about it, and I used it as like, when I did fairs, I'd be like, oh, buy your commission off of there.
Okay.
So it started in that way. And then I had one design, which was the hand earrings, and hands just were really fashionable at the time, and that's all I sold. And then a few people, I don't know if you can still do it, but with Etsy, like people used to tag things into like a collection. Do you know?
Yes. I think I know what you mean.
People would follow it or something.
It's a board, or like a mood board. Yeah.
And there was two things. There was a pair of collar clips which were like bats, and those hand things, and they kept getting put into boards, and then that sort of gradually built up. But then I put quite a lot of experimental stuff in there, and also I shut it off for like years in between. It's not been up since 2012. It's been like up and down, and
okay.
Yeah, so the majority of the sales sort of have happened in the last 2 or 3 years, I would say.
Since you've been doing your more like multicoloured work.
Yeah, like basically with the red and black stuff, I liked it, but it was so niche, it was so difficult to sell. I remember doing a Crafty Fox market in like 2014, and I went there, and it was in Brixton, and I hadn't been to Brixton for a while, and I didn't sell anything.
Oh, it's the worst feeling, isn't it?
The people next to me were selling they were quite nice. They were like, when hanging baskets first came into fashion, and they were like, oh, they were lovely, but they must have made like a grand or something.
Wow.
And I was there like, oh. And it was a bit of a blur, but I think it's just, then I did the Peckham one like a couple of weeks later, and I sold stuff, and I think it was just, that's when I learned about audience, really. because it was quite a trendy crowd, which was weird for Brixton because it was always quite sort of not super trendy, but like, anyway, yeah. Sorry, I've just gone on a tangent.
All right.
No, that's interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
So how do you think your designs have evolved then, like in the last few years? You said like the sales have improved. Have you looked at kind of what's worked and then kind of moved towards that, or?
I think I did quite a lot of research really over the years through having not sold stuff. So you look at what other people have. So if you go to a fair and you're like, they're selling it, why are they selling it? What is it? Is it the price point? Is it the material? Is it the colour? Is it the packaging?
Really interesting.
You know, and because I'm really critical of myself, so that's worked as a positive, because I'm like, right, this, I think it's this, I think it's that. And then I worked at one of my jobs, like along the way, I worked at an art gallery in Portsmouth, Aspects, and I managed their shop for a while, and we used to get jewellery in, and so I could see what sold. And
that's really helpful.
Yeah, and also sort of just have looked at quite, like, been quite inspired by quite a lot of like women that run and you know, that run jewellery businesses on their own, and sort of, yeah, just been like, right, try and see what it is that it might be. And I think a lot of it for me was just like, a lot of this is quite quick to produce, and so you can physically do it on your own. Whereas like, or there's two different ways, I guess, like you can do it that way and you do it as a quick product and the price point is low, or you do very bespoke stuff and you charge what you want to charge. And that's kind of, I was like, which one do I want to be? And I'm like, right, I kind of want to do it the quick way and see what happens with that. But also I've always looked in magazines and seen what's in fashion at the time and been like, what colour it, but I don't know why I don't think everyone does that, but I always have. Like, I'll go in like Hello Fashion and be like, oh, green's in fashion, I've got some green, maybe I'd like try green.
Fuchsia green, yeah.
And so I do take note of it because I find it interesting, because usually like trends change and travel through. So if one 90s things come in, some other 90s thing might come in, and so it's kind of a mix of what I think people might like and what I like as well, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever design stuff that you don't really like because you know other people will like it?
I've tried before. I think on the first year I had this new stuff, a few people was like, are you going to make Valentine's stuff? And I was like, yeah, right. And I spent about 2 days in the shed, and then I was like, I hate it. I hate this. I'm going to sell this. And I didn't. And I was like, I'm not doing anything I don't want to do anymore. Stupid. Yeah. Like, people like Valentine jewellery, but I can't. And then this year, I just thought of something which I actually liked, and I thought it was Rowan who suggested lovebirds, and it just worked. But yeah, not really, not anymore. No. Because it's not fun if you don't like it, because you have to stand behind a stall and like tell people about it.
Yeah, and you have to make them all.
Yeah. So if you don't like it, it's a bit sad, isn't it, really?
Yeah. So what have you done that you're most proud of?
I guess kind of looking back, it's been quite a long journey since like I finished uni, and I think when I got my work in the Tate, it was a sort of point of my life in which trying to head for a really long time. And I think that it's weird because, like, I guess you want the validation of having your work somewhere, which is like prestigious, I guess. I think if you go to universities like I did, or if you're a type of person like me, I guess, and that was like quite a big, well, it was weird, like, I guess it was quite a big part of my life, and it was just like, yeah, I did this by continuing, like, from doing those jobs I didn't want to do, and just like being like, no, I'm gonna keep trying, try something else, and feeling a bit mad quite a lot of the time, and I think it was like, yeah, I can design stuff which like might get somewhere which I want it to, and that was quite satisfying.
Definitely. I mean, that's the ultimate validation to get in somewhere like the Tate, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how did that happen? Was that something you applied for? Did they approach you?
So they approached me, and I don't know where she saw it, but I think it may have been because I was on the Urban Makers directory, because another jewellery designer got her work in there at the same time.
Yeah.
And she said that it was because they'd seen that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So
yeah, it's an amazing achievement.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, it's weird.
So where's your like happy place in terms of your business? Are you happiest when you're like making, designing, selling on the computer?
Making.
Making.
Definitely. Like, I think it's designing things, and like when you get to have an experiment and you're like, you try something out and then it works, and I love playing around with materials quite a lot. Least favourite, I get really anxious when I do anything on the computer. I don't know if it's because I'm like slightly not very good or something, but like, I get so angry if I've been on there all day. I think often because you're editing photos or doing stuff for graphics, which you then have to put out in the world, and it just like, because I'm not 100% like, I don't really value my photography skills that much, so I'm always like, I don't know if it's like very good. But yeah, I think making is just, I love it. I love coming up with a new idea, but that's bad because I always want to just make new things and never really finish.
Yeah, and then you have all the orders to fulfill of all your existing styles as well.
Yeah, and also I do find quite satisfying when you've packed up all your orders and you take them to the post office.
Definitely. And then you can click dispatched on everything.
Yeah, and it's just so, and it's nice as well because like, I like having proper time to sort of look through all of the orders, and then like if it's a gift and stuff, it's just quite nice. Like, I like it when people write notes in the Etsy, because it's just nice, isn't it, to know going to. And
yeah, nice to think that people are going to open their parcel and hopefully really love something that you've made. It's really rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, and I try not to get complacent, because I think because I've done so many, like, over time, obviously packed a lot. I have to remember, like, I used to like Google Earth, like if they were from another country. Google Earth, be like,
this is where they live.
Yeah, amazing. Like, not in a stalkery way, but just like,
it sounds a bit GDPR, doesn't it now?
Yeah, but if it's like in America, I find it really interesting. So,
you could have that written on your website, like what we're going to use your information for.
Yeah, I Google you.
Spying on you.
See where you live.
Probably shouldn't have said that.
We'll edit it out, it's fine.
So have you got any advice that you tell your younger self?
Probably not to worry as much, really. I think it's one of those things, like with the industry that we're in, like, especially if you're doing it on your own, or is you have so much time to think about stuff that it can be a bit much. And I think I just wish I'd not taken everything so seriously or worried so much, because, you know, like, everything, if it doesn't work out, it's not the biggest deal. Like, life's more important than your business, sort of thing.
And I think there's also that expectation that when you start out with something, that you're just going to be the best from the beginning. And it takes such a time.
Quickly. It's like, things don't happen really quickly. Like, and I think it's like, also there's like a perception with Instagram as well, because you like see these businesses and you're like, oh, they're so successful, they're doing all of this stuff, and then you're like, you don't know they've been doing it for 10 years or like 20 years or however long, or
and have a team.
Have someone that helps them. So I think it's just that, really. But I think that just comes with age, doesn't it? A bit of not worrying as much, and not thinking that everyone's thinking about you, because they're not. They're thinking about themselves. So if you don't post something, no one's gonna worry, like
No.
no one's gonna care really.
No, you just do it in the next day.
Yeah.
So, how has coronavirus affected the business? Have you seen an effect of it?
So the start of it was pretty bleak. April was really depressing. It just, I think, because of the initial, no one really knew what to do, did they? So I lost I'd had some wholesale orders set up, and then they just ghosted me. So I was like, oh, I assume that's not happening, because obviously, so even though I hadn't had that revenue, I kind of saw that, and I was like, oh. And then Etsy just died in April, and it was just scary, because it was like, oh God, like I really don't know what to do here. But then, so my partner was working. He worked throughout it because he was doing some landscaping, so he was able to work outside. So it was pretty lucky, really. And then I got in with Keep Them Safe, who were making face shields.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And so I did that for sort of the first 3 weeks of the weird bit, and it got me through because it just gave me something else to concentrate on. Yeah. And so it wasn't as bad, but it gave me a lot of time to think about whether I was happy at that point. I think I've been really burning it badly for the last 2 years, just never having a break. When I get home, not having a break, and being really angry, well, not angry, just being really anxious all the time, because it was just taking on too much and not saying no enough.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, it was horrific, and it's it's still odd, but it did give people a bit of time, some people, if they weren't having to work, a bit of time to sort of think about what your values are and what's important, and whether you're burning yourself out. And
it's almost a bit like having some time out to go traveling or something, isn't it? And you just give yourself that space that you wouldn't have had before, and you just look at it all completely differently. And hopefully some people have been able to use this time wisely and will make some changes.
Have you decided on changes you might make?
I think I'm definitely gonna try to use up more of what I've got. I haven't with the acrylic, it's difficult. I've never thrown any of it away. I've got all the offcuts anyway. But I think there's with sort of fashion jewellery, there's this sort of emphasis on collections all the time. And I think I'm not going to do as many, so that I can actually use up all of my materials and do more one-offs as well, and just have a bit more fun with it. And also, which I've been thinking of doing for quite a long time, is to do more charity collections, because there's a organisation called Work for Good, and you can give a percentage of your profit to a charity, and I think it's something I've wanted to do for ages, and I'm finally going to do it and have it on my shop that is a permanent thing, because
that's fantastic.
That's great.
So I think, that sounded really egotistical, but I think it's just important to to do it, and
give a little bit back.
But you do it to help other people, and then you obviously do it for yourself as well.
So I think that's one of the ones, really. Just try and have a bit more fun with it, not try and be ASOS and do 2-day delivery, and just sort of remember that there's just one of me.
And it's handmade goods, it's worth waiting for, because it's had a lot of time and care put into it.
But also, I want to do some ceramics.
Okay.
My mum has a shop on Artisanat on Etsy. She's done really well with it, and I'm just desperate to have a go now and see if I can do it. I think it'd be quite fun with all the abstract stuff, because it's
definitely
to do some more. Because I thought about playing around with other materials, probably actually use other things apart from acrylic as well. I've been looking at wood for a while, just to maybe mix with it, or you know,
Yeah.
just so that I'm not continually just acrylic jewellery, Julia, like
Yes.
to do other stuff. So.
Yeah, so when you say do ceramics, you mean ceramic jewellery?
Maybe, or like ceramics which are to do with jewellery.
Yeah.
Or that have a lot of my sort of emblems and
Yeah, your shapes.
you know, yeah, on there. So yeah, just to have a bit of fun, really.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
And do you have like a future plan for the business? I know obviously we've chatted about like donating to charity, and is there anything else that you kind of want to do?
Not really. just keep going, and yeah, just I think just keep it sustainable, really. Yeah, just neaten it up a bit and like try not to expand it too much, and just do what I do well, and not try and do too much stuff, really.
That sounds great.
Yeah, great.
Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, I think you've done so well to kind of set it all off on your own. It sounds like an amazing journey. So well done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm very jealous that there's two of you.
It does really help.
It's mostly Ali, but obviously with lockdown I've been around a lot more, so it's been really nice for both of us to work on it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good, you know, it's that extra bit of reassurance as well, having someone else there, because otherwise I can imagine that you question yourself a lot on your own.
Oh yeah, but like I've got quite a good sort of little group of other like creative people that we kind of vent to each other on Instagram and stuff, so like you know,
but your support network.
Yeah, but no, I've tried to persuade Rowan to help me. He has done big like London fairs with me and stuff, but it's just it's not his. He doesn't sell jewellery. It's not.
No.
Yeah.
What does he know about it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, someone wants to come over and chat to you about it, don't they?
Yeah, he's always like, I'm sure because I'm here, they're not buying anything. I'm like, I'm sure they're not looking at you. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, so for all the people watching, how's best to follow you up? Would it be to follow you on Instagram?
Yeah, so I use basically Instagram is what I use the most, really. I have got a Facebook page, but I don't use it that much. Have a Twitter again, yeah. So Instagram.
Insta.
And or yeah, just send me an email or message me on Etsy if you've got any questions or anything like that.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Super interesting.
Yeah, I'm wishing you all the best.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
That's okay, and thanks to everyone for tuning into our Creativity Save Me chat show.
Take care, guys.
See you soon. Take